So let me set the context for our discussion and meditation. As always, what I have to teach is irrelevant. What we want to learn together is the only thing that's relevant now. So I'm going to ask each one of you to share what it is that you'd like to cover in the subject of meditation, so that the next 90 minutes we can co-create as an experience. Okay? I'll set a context and then I'll ask you if you have something to share or you want something for me to throw light upon something. We'll do that as a group together. Evolution should be a spontaneous affair. If I'm fighting with my body and mind, something is amiss. When Manish is not there, only meditation is. How then can I train for something that's natural? Is that okay? The subject is very vast of meditation, so we'll narrow down. How can I train for something that is natural? And what we're going to share is that I train away the distractions. When the distractions are gone, what is left is only meditation. So that's the context that I want to share. I'm going to ask each one of you if you want to share anything or you have a question, so that we cover all of this in the course of the next 90 minutes. We're going to be looking at the different types. Typically, we classify all meditation techniques within 5 categories. We'll look at that. We'll try each of those so that you can then choose which works for you. So friends, anybody who wishes to, if you want to share a question or something, please do.
I'd like to remain calm in situations that are stressful.
Okay, sure thing. So calm during all situations. I really don't have much to share, so if you throw in something, then we'll co-create. Yeah. What would you like to sort of cover in the next 90 minutes on the subject of meditation?
Yeah, I'd really like to do some practical exploration of that.
Sure. So we'll do.
That's really what I specifically hear from you.
Sure. So we'll do 4 different meditation techniques, and then we'll see which one sits best with us. Anything else, friends?
Building it into a daily routine.
Building it into a daily routine. Fair enough. Okay.
To understand the benefit that I can keep during the day after the meditation.
Yeah. So how do you have the benefits run through the day?
Also, like knowing the benefits of
Yeah.
meditation, experiencing it by myself, knowing which age when I do it,
Yeah.
and I can't handle it, like really doing it up on my daily list.
Yes. Okay. So how to prioritize?
Yeah.
And once you know the benefits. Fair enough.
I mean, I already know
You know the benefits, but
I
yet
experience it, but I still don't prioritize.
prioritize. Sure.
What is with the resistance?
Why resistance?
Yeah, right? Because we know how good it is.
Sure.
I've had times where I've done religiously
Yes.
really well, then you kind of go, and then it's getting back in. Like, oh, but I don't want it.
Sure. We'll cover that. Did you? Yeah.
From my experience, I would like to know how to do meditation. Is it integration, but is it dynamic? Because I know
Yeah.
how to do this when I sit in the static position,
Sure.
but I never had experience with meditation,
Sure.
but with the temporary.
Yeah. You were saying something? That's good. When anybody else has a question? Oh. When I'm watching a sunset, only 2 things are possible. Either I'm experiencing a sunset, or I'm thinking it's such a beautiful sunset. Yeah? When I'm not there to even articulate how beautiful that is, meditation is happening. Now the question arises, why don't we live and why do we think the whole day? And the answer, in my opinion, is very simple. Meditation is never going to be a life or death phenomenon. I'm sitting there waiting for my lunch to come. In the 15 minutes that it takes for the lunch to come, my mind can be all over the place. I could be with my holidays, I could be with my college, I could be anywhere. And when the food comes, I start to eat. Unless I value 15 minutes of my life, for some reason, all of us woke up this morning. 150,000 people die every day. For some reason, I'm alive today. If I value the 15 minutes of my life, then I want to be here. If I don't value it, my mind can be any place. It's not a life or death phenomenon. By the time the food comes, okay, now I have become present, then I can still be lost while eating the food. But if I feel that I'm not capable of even living 1 second, this character Manish cannot extend life by even 1 second. It's a gift. If I value that gift so deeply, then I make an effort to be here. That is the start of meditation. So first, you're asking why don't you prioritize? Because it's not a life or death phenomenon. If COVID is a life or death phenomenon, for example, and so we develop structures, we take care to ensure we don't die. But meditation is not that. Meditation is for kings. It's not life or death. I want to be present because I know that this is the greatest gift there is, life. Now the question arises, if being here is natural. When I was a child, I could play. When I say I mean all of us. When I was a child, I could play with a toy for hours on end. Focus was natural. When puberty hit, focus went out of the window. I didn't train back that focus. Instead, I spent time getting an MBA, getting a job, getting a relationship, and so on and so forth. Why is focus the critical factor? My friend is telling me their biggest problem in life, but I'm thinking about lunch. And that is why we have such issues with relationships today. Because focus doesn't mean I become Michelangelo tomorrow. Focus simply means that I am here, right now. I can be there for myself and for anybody. In my opinion, that's the biggest, or one of the biggest benefits of meditation. I can just be here. Irrespective of what it does to my health and well-being and so on. And before we get into some of the techniques, the Latin root word for sin is unawareness. The Latin root word is unawareness. When I'm not aware, what I do is a sin. And you continuously find this when you talk to a murderer. They will say that something came over me, and by the time I came to my senses, there was a body and a pool of blood. That level of unawareness is a sin. Right? So please understand that even the creators of language, sin is not a moral phenomenon. That's at a societal level. If I'm not aware, whatever I do is a sin. If I'm aware, can I really be jealous if I'm aware? Can I really be angry if I'm aware? Yeah. Now, I'm going to throw these as questions. Nobody, so before we even go further, nobody should be teaching you meditation. It's too beautiful, and nobody should be telling you how to connect to yourself. However beautiful that person may be, saint, guru, whatever, it works for them. Doesn't need to work for you. You're too beautiful to fit into any system. The systems are there for you. What can you then learn or train from a person? How do I train to be natural? How do I train to be, it sounds like an oxymoron, right? How do I train to be natural? I'm sitting watching a sunset, but I can't be present because I'm thinking about anything, a relationship, my career, something. So what can I do to be present? I can sort out my life. If I sort out my life, the chances to be completely present are higher. It's a very juvenile way of thinking that stay present, sunrise, sunrise, sunrise. I'll go bonkers. If I sort out my life, if currently the 20 of us have nowhere else to be but here, we call that asana. It's not about my back strength or my core strength. I am still because there's no place else I need to be. I'm present because there's really no place else I gotta be now, or I want to be now. That is a result of sorting out one's life, one's ambitions, one's desires, and so on. It doesn't mean that I have no ambition. Again, when I use the word I don't mean me, I'm speaking for all of us. It doesn't mean that I don't have ambition, but I'm absolutely cool where I am just now. If that is not the case, if I'm in a wrong relationship, wrong career, if I've cheated somebody, if I've done some such, I cannot be here. When a plant is at its epitome, there's so much vitality in a plant, it flowers. When a human being is so energetic, love happens. Love doesn't happen, prayer doesn't happen, meditation doesn't happen to a person without energy. When I don't have energy, I'm jealous, irritable, angry. Somebody says something, I go bonkers. When I am in that state of love, I don't have to be in love with anyone. I'm in love. That's meditation. So what we're getting at is that it is not a verb. I cannot meditate. When I'm not there, only meditation is there. Now the problem that is presented is, how do I get I out of the way? This character, Manish, is so petty in the grand existence of life. This organism has enough intelligence to make my lunch into me, which came from one cell, has enough intelligence to be all of this. And yet I think that this character, Manish, I don't even think the cells in my body know that I'm Manish. But they function beautifully. So how do I get out of the way? Because nature and me are inseparable. I'm part of this wind. I'm part of all of this. Yet Manish thinks that he's separate. Okay? So the challenge arises. If I fight Manish, I'll go mad. The only challenge left now is, how do I find some part of me that can watch my body, watch my mind? This body feels hungry every 4 hours, feels sleepy every 18 hours. If the pattern can be watched, there is some part of me that is beyond the body. This mind gets jealous every 3 days, gets angry every 6 days. If it can be watched, there's some part behind. If that part is what I fall into, that's a state of meditation. How I do that is completely up to you. For somebody it's through dance, for somebody it's through painting, for somebody it's through yoga, for somebody it's through rock climbing. It can be through music, it can be through anything. But that state of silence, whatever you call it, kingdom of heaven, silence, space, anything you want to call it, that's why in the Indian tradition, the question when is asked, how do you describe that? They say, neti, neti. Not that, not that. Whatever you use as a word to describe, language is not equipped to describe silence. Language is a tool of the mind. Without language, we cannot communicate. We cannot even internally articulate. But it is not equipped to describe beyond mind. Whatever word you put to that will never be able to describe silence. So we don't even bother. And this is why you'll be amazed, because in the Sanskrit language, there is no word for philosophy. The word that we use, yoga, is one of 6 darshans. Darshan means to see. You're interested in creating yourself into a seer of reality, not a thinker of reality. So in the entire Orient, you'll never find a statue of the thinking man. You'll only find a statue of the meditating man. Because we're not interested in thinking about reality. We're interested in seeing reality. How does that happen? If I were to remove all concepts, every concept that I was fed, what do I have? I've got this body, I've got breath happening, and my mind keeps changing. So we begin with the reliable instrument, the body and breath. I don't need, it's not a concept that I'm breathing, I am breathing. But it may be a concept that I'm an Indian. Okay? Tomorrow if the borders change, I may be a Chinese. So anything that I think is just a concept. It's good for a certain level, but it also limits my identity. So before we begin the first practice, I'm going to introduce you to one idea that brings this to some sort of an understanding. In Tantra, we say that a human being is a gat akasha, an earthen pot filled with the cosmos. The cosmos is within me. Aham Brahmasmi. I am the cosmos. The only thing that needs to be done is that pot needs to break. Currently, I've identified with the pot. I've identified as Manish, tak, 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 tak. Only that needs to change. I don't need to connect. I was never disconnected. Only that needs to break. That earthen pot needs to break. And there are techniques for that. So one of the first techniques we're going to take up is, most meditation techniques can get classified under 5. The first one is, I'm constantly talking to myself. Instead of that being unconscious, let's make it conscious. So that would be language, that would be words, that would be prayer, mantra, any words. Yeah? Now that, for example, if you're interested in meditation, you don't have to learn any new Sanskrit, Buddhist, Tibetan chant. What you're used to from childhood works well. If you're used to the Our Father or any other prayer, that's fine. You don't need any other cultural context. This is very important. Words, it doesn't matter. If you don't like any of them, you can even say a song or a poem. You can even chant your own name, but you're doing it consciously. As opposed to I'm sitting and waiting for my lunch and something's going on unconsciously. So we'll take up one simple meditation where we are working with sound, we are working with chant. So I'd invite you to just sit straight. why we sit straight and so on and so forth, we'll discuss. But just sit really straight. I'm constantly dissipating energy. I've eaten food, but by evening I'm getting tired. So how do I conserve this energy? This posture that I'm sitting in is called Swastika Asana. Just one or two things about posture. This is symbolical. We don't really use it for meditation. It's symbolical. Padmasana. Ideally, we would use Siddha Asana. One leg is here, or for a woman we call it Siddha Yoni Asana. One leg is here. If you're sitting for 5-10 minutes a day, it's fine. If you're going to sit for 1.5, 2 hours a day, it's not meant for family people. Your entire drive for sex, for life, will get transmuted into pure meditational energy. So, as family people, Swastika Asana, the toes in the crook of this knee, these toes come up in the crook of this knee. Now you're locked. Now I continuously lose energy from my fingertips, so I lock it here. Now, what you have to do in the subject of meditation is you have to be an experimenter. Just because some text has said sit like this, you don't believe. Your belief will be a roadblock for your experimentation. People have tried this for thousands of years, so they have presented this. What is yoga? It's a study into human potential and how to go beyond it, unbroken. Unfortunately, the Egyptian system got broken, so that research we don't have. In the yogic system, it's continued for 6,000, 7,000 years. So when you practice, you're a researcher. If this posture doesn't work for you, change it. You don't have to fit into it. I'm just presenting what works. For me, it works. Fingers are like this, so energy is not being dissipated. I can only lose energy from my eyes now, so I close the eyes. Once I close the eyes, when we dream every night, we call rapid eye movement. So in rapid eye movement, your eyes are moving so much because you're in a dream state. So if I lock my eyes on the eyebrow center, I fall into focus. So let's try that. So just close the eyes at the eyebrow center. The tongue, if you roll your tongue and touch the upper part of your mouth, roll, upper part of the mouth it touches, Kechri Mudra, you'll come into a state of focus. The fingers, the tongue, the eyes, the body. This is the basic body language for meditation to happen. Now we're going to work with a mantra or a prayer. So first, be aware of any prayer, mantra or poem that you like very much and that we're going to repeat silently to ourselves for the next 2 minutes. Okay, so with the eyes closed. Has everybody got some words that you like? Yeah. I'll tell you at the end of, let's do 3 minutes. At the end of 3 minutes, I'll tell you to snap out of it. So for the next 3 minutes, just keep repeating that prayer or that mantra. When you get distracted, come back to it. You're just training to stick to that neural circuit. 3 minutes starting now. If you don't have any such, you can just do so hum, so hum. Whenever you find you've lost your focus, you come back to your words. Now this works on the left hemisphere of the brain. The left hemisphere understands language, but you're still using only half the brain. The right hemisphere does not understand language at all. It understands only images. So when we do the second meditation, it will be based on visualization. A couple of points about the words that you choose. A very famous, I'm sure you've all come across this, if not, I'll anyway present. A very famous experiment done by a Japanese scientist, Inamoto. About 20 years ago, he took 3 bottles of water, studied the water molecular structure. On one bottle, he wrote love, one hate, and one was neutral. For the next 3 weeks, every morning he took out the love bottle and said, I love you. To be a scientist, you have to be a little mad. To talk to water, it's beautiful. So he kept saying, I love you, I love you. To the other bottle, he kept saying, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And the other one was neutral. At the end of 3 weeks, the neutral bottle had shown the natural destruction of molecular structure as is. The bottle that he said, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, the molecular structure of water was completely disintegrated. Same thing, just his intent and his words has destroyed the water, unfit for consumption. And the bottle that said love, the molecular structure had become even better than 3 weeks ago, which doesn't happen usually. Just the intention. Now we feel that we are living in a world where we are alive and the water is dead. But everything is throbbing with prana right across. We are 80% water. So when I think that I am unworthy, the water in me is responding. Every cell believes, is imbued with the idea of unworthiness. And when I tell myself that I am worthy, every cell is coming alive. It was the full moon 3-4 days ago. The waves of the ocean rise. The water and the emotion in me rise. In the same way, every single day your inner dialogue happening unconsciously is changing your DNA, it's changing your molecular structure. Now, 10 minutes a day, I sit in meditation or prayer. The remaining 23 hours, I'm talking rubbish to myself. You train and master meditation so that one day you don't need it. Not that one day you need it. Today I need it. I need some time to myself. I'm hoping and training that one day I don't need it. Because there won't be a need to go into my cave. Because there won't be anything to resolve. My life is resolved. Be very careful what you talk to yourself. Language makes a huge difference, like we saw with Inamoto's experiment. So that is words, that is language. If you're working with a mantra, mannate trayate iti mantra. Mantra is that which allows me to come out of the compulsiveness of thought. I have a certain compulsiveness in my mind. So, a mantra is given by a guru to overcome that. It could be anything, it can be mantra, it can be prayer, but it allows me to come out of compulsive patterns. If you're using a mantra, our understanding of sound is still very nascent. In ancient cultures, sound was understood far deeper. In our culture, in our scientific era, we are focused on the aesthetics of sound. Mantras are sonic formulae. If I say Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya, I don't need to know the meaning, but if I get the pronunciations right, it's doing something to me. Yeah? In the English language, when I call this watch, when I say this is watch, the sound watch has nothing to do with this energy form. just you and me have agreed that watches this. Yeah? We've just agreed on this, but it's got nothing to do with the reality of this. So sonic formulae, and that is why in the ancient traditions, in the beginning there was the Word, and Word was with God. Word is given that much significance. Every culture has gotten to the same. In a state of prayer, Aum, Ameen, Amen. Why is it that cross-culturally everybody is getting the same syllable? Yeah. So that exploration of sound is one way of meditating. Yeah. Please remember that you saying a prayer is not meditation. When you drop into silence, that is the meditative space. The technique is up till then. I use a technique so that at some point I cease to be. I may sit for half an hour, but maybe for 20 seconds I'm silent. If I can hit that silence daily, then I exist without my story. My story is only on the periphery. Manish, tuck, 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 tuck. However painful it may be, however beautiful it may be, it's only on the periphery. Now I have choice. Choice is the gift of meditation. I can choose to wear a torn shirt, which means I can choose to live trashily, or I can choose to wear a beautiful shirt, which means I choose to create a beautiful life. But I have choice. Currently, I don't have choice because I believe my story is mine. It is mine, but there's more to me. What is mine cannot be me. Now I have that space, so I'm not claustrophobic in my own identity. That space, a little nanosecond, suppose you were to shout at me, I have the choice, I have that little bit of time to say, oh, maybe she's having a bad day. It's got nothing to do with me. If I don't have choice, I'm compulsive. You shout, I shout. Now I have choice. Now I'm a king. Because you can shout, I can be cool. This is the gift of meditation. You just have that space. It's not that you're shouting and I'm saying, no, be calm, be calm. Yeah, that's rubbish. You'll go mad. It's the work done before that at that point of stress, I'm not identifying with what my ears and my brain is processing. So we've seen one kind of meditation. How many of you like working with sound, with words? Does it work for anybody? Okay, fine. We'll look at another one now. We'll look at a visualization. So the science of visualization in the yogic culture is yantra, an energetic pattern. So we're going to now sit and visualize, and you can choose any of your wish. It can be a geometric symbol, it can be a flower, a nature symbol, it can be your mother's face, it can be the face of God, whatever you wish to. If you like, you can even visualize your own face. It doesn't matter what you choose. Some are more powerful, but it's better to work with your own rather than try out something that you're not 100% believing in. Yeah? So you can choose anything for the next 3 minutes. What we'll be doing is just visualizing one pattern. Whenever I get distracted, I come back. Whenever I get distracted, I come back. So I train just the focus. As we've discussed in the past, if you were to train in the Zen tradition to be a painter, for the first 2 years you're not given paints. You're just looking at the bamboo. After 2 years, you don't need to be taught to paint because you've become the bamboo. In the same way, we're going to visualize for 3 minutes just an image. Can you all choose one image? choose one image and then we'll get started. So just sit straight, close the eyes. The eyes are not lazy, they are fixed at the eyebrow center. And for the next 3 minutes, begin to visualize one image. One image. Can be a full moon, sunrise, whatever you wish to, but one. And I'll tell you after 3 minutes. We have 2 more minutes. Whenever you're distracted, back to your image. Beautiful. How many of you like this over word and who likes this? Okay, fine. We'll look at others also. We'll see how we can combine as well. The only thing is that don't do word on Monday, image on Tuesday, thoughts on Thursday, something. Choose one for 6 months. If it doesn't resonate with you, then try the next. But stick to one. Stick to one. As Bruce Lee would always say, I don't fear the man who knows 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. Just practice, practice, practice. At the end of the day, the practice is not the meditation, it's where it gets you to. So whatever it is, choose an image. I get asked this quite a bit. That I'm trying this, but somebody asked the question, how do I prioritize? Okay? The meditation you choose has to be so interesting that you do it. Yeah? If you choose some boring thing, obviously you won't feel like doing it. Yeah? A lot of the times, it's the emperor's new clothes. Are you all familiar with the story? Yeah, the emperor's new clothes? No? Okay. There was an emperor whose birthday was coming up. So he asked all the tailors to design the finest garment possible, so fine that it's got a certain quality of refinement to it. So everybody did that, and finally a tailor came and said, this is an exquisite garment that is worthy of an emperor. He said, I can't see this. He said, yeah, it is so refined that you need to be of a certain caliber just to see it. Okay. He wears it and he's walking in parade to the palace. And everybody's like, wow, such a refined garment that we don't have the capability to see it. We need to develop our sensitivity, our sensibility to see this beautiful piece of garment. Suddenly one small boy laughing, like, you're naked. And then the whole town realizes that there was no clothes. The man was naked. The king himself realizes the idiocy of the whole thing. There was nothing. But the man had sold him this exquisite thing and told him that he doesn't have the refinement. It's a bit like modern art. It's a lot like modern art. When the artist needs to explain the art to me, I know it's rubbish. It's doing nothing to me that I have to be explained it. This happens a lot in meditation. You don't have the refinement to understand how exquisite this technique is rubbish. Therefore, never base any meditation or understanding of life on something that 20 years later you find out is rubbish. So we come to the third kind of technique. Base it on breath. You don't need any belief. You don't need anything. I know I'm breathing. I'm just going to watch my breathing. I don't need any idea. I don't need any infrastructure. Anywhere I'm sitting, I can just watch my breathing. So that is the third kind of meditation technique. It's very beautiful. What we're going to do for 3 minutes is we're just going to sit and we're going to watch our breathing. We're just going to watch. When I get distracted, I come back to watching. You don't have to breathe deep. When you watch it, it will get deep and rhythmic. Nature doesn't trust Manish to keep breathing alive. I keep forgetting my breathing, I'd be dead. So it's doing this subconsciously by the brain stem. Now when you do it consciously, the cortex comes into play. So we're just going to watch breathing for 3 minutes. You can stylize it a little bit. Inhale with so, exhale with hum. You can visualize from the base of spine to eyebrow center. It's just a stylization. Essentially, you're just watching breath. So for 3 minutes, if you're ready, with the eyes closed, just watching the breath. Whenever you get distracted, come back to the breath. Taking a deep breath, and with your fingers, close your nostrils and hold the breath inside. So we saw there that when we held the breath, the mind came to a standstill. The mind only works when breathing is happening. So if I want to watch my mind, I watch my breath. The mind trying to change the mind is like a dog chasing its tail. This part of my mind wants to change this habit. I've already split. I'm already a split personality. And you know that love, prayer, beauty happens in integration, not in split. On December 31st, I want to change this in me. By Jan 2nd, I say, what rubbish. Because when I split, I cannot go too far. When I integrate, I'm all. So you don't use the mind to change the mind. Yoga is defined as using the mind to transcend the trappings of the mind. The most beautiful tool capable of making me free is also the cause of my cage. But I don't use the mind directly because that's generally not successful. So you use the breath. The more I can watch the breath, the more the mind comes into step. And if I develop the ability to hold the breath, the mind comes to a standstill. We say idle mind is devil's workshop, but we say empty mind is God's workshop. When I don't exist, what is there? That silence happens. Breath work is too narrow a term. You're not interested in the oxygen. If I was so interested in oxygen, I could have got an oxygen cylinder. Yeah? But by being aware of my breathing, my mind falls in line. How many of you like this meditation? This is beautiful, right? Because no concept, no belief, nothing required. It's there all the time. No paraphernalia required, nothing required. Just you can be sitting. When you are doing meditation, nobody needs to know. You're doing it sometimes with people around, without people around. You're just sitting. You're doing it. Nobody needs to know. You could be just standing there but watching. And you could be here very beautifully but not watching. So up until a point where you don't need it anymore, you train. So that was the third kind of meditation technique. Now the questions arises, what is the benefit of meditation? In my opinion, none. None whatsoever. Of course it's great for my body, it's great for my mind. Am I doing it for that? No. What is the benefit of watching Van Gogh's Starry Night? There's no benefit. But the beauty of seeing Van Gogh's work, or the beauty of seeing a sunrise, cannot be articulated. If I'm doing meditation so that my breathing or so that my health improves, yes, it will improve. But that's a side benefit. It's a side benefit. There is no use of poetry. But without poetry, there is no life. Is that okay? Yeah. The most beautiful things in life are not utilitarian. When I watch a sunset, there's no benefit to me. And yet, it heals me at every level. But that's not why I do it. I do it because to not watch the sunset, something is amiss in my life. I'm missing out. The beauty isn't there. Is that okay? Yes, there are benefits and benefits, but that's not why you do it. If you're doing it for a benefit, some days you'll do it, some days you won't. But if there's no benefit, there's really no benefit to sit like this. I become completely non-productive. But I'm not here to be productive. Because this is too beautiful not to experience. Then, if it is helpful, so be it. Yeah? If it is helpful, so be it. But if I'm doing it for a particular reason, now please note, I'm just sharing my thing. For you, it may be different. There may be a benefit that motivates you. Meditation is done when you're tired of happiness. Not when you're depressed, sad. At that point, move. Sort out life whenever you can. It's not about going from -1 to 0. It's about going from 0 to +1. So sort out life, fix everything. Then when you sit, whatever you do is a state of meditation. Not because of a benefit, but because it's too beautiful not. Which brings us to the fourth kind of meditation. As Buddhism went from India to China, the word dhyan became pronounced as chan. As it traveled to Japan, it further got mispronounced into Zen. And the Zen masters worked very deeply in Japan to create different meditations. When you do a tea ceremony, you engage in a ritual that brings you into a heightened state of awareness. It's not about the taste of the tea, but you come into a state of awareness. When you do archery, when you do Zen archery, for the first couple of years, you don't even have a target. You're learning how to release the arrow. The way it's described is like this, that how do you release an arrow? The way a child leaves your hand when you're walking on a road. When I'm walking with my partner and I leave her hand, because I'm thinking about it, it's a certain way. When a child you're walking with and just leaves your hand and runs, there's no thought. There's no thought to leave the hand, they're just gone. That to learn when I'm at a certain level of extension, I'm not thinking, it's just a release. That archery, the target is irrelevant. But just to release the arrow will take a couple of years of training. So in the Zen arts, it's very beautiful. Or if you're doing work with Ikebana, it is not that I want to create a very beautiful thing, but I've engaged my hands. So we say in Zen, the only true meditation is when you're working with your hands. This is why we have such a high level of depression and anxiety today. Because all the work is mental. There's no physical work. In my line of work, there is absolutely nothing I have to do with my hands. Only when I practice some yoga, I engage with my body. The rest is all cerebral. And therefore, if I'm not careful, we have automated so many things that the only thing we're doing is thinking. That can easily go into depression, anxiety. 3 years back was the first time that more people committed suicide than died through war. The first time in human history. Right? So, using the hands, gardening, it's very beautiful. You feel very fulfilled. Yesterday I was making a bracelet I was so fulfilled because my hands were engaged. I was creative. Like that, one of the great Zen techniques is just to sit and watch the mind. Now, when I wake up in the morning, and you may be able to relate to this, one of the things that runs in my mind is a perfection issue, right? When I wake up, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm thinking, I wish I had said this yesterday, I wish I had done this yesterday. I'm brushing my teeth, I'm taking a shower, and this is going on. Because for years I have watched, as soon as I watch it, it stops. So that's a very interesting point. I don't have to stop it, I don't have to change negative to positive. I just have to be aware it stops. Then the next thing will start. I like to plan my retreats. So that will start. I used to be a workaholic, so I'll plan. As soon as I see it, it'll stop. I want to work when I'm working. When I'm not working, I want to keep the mind apart. That is the problem for us today. Then the next thought will start. Now, because they are so connected, we feel that the mind is continuous. But actually the space is fundamental. If there were only clouds, I think that only clouds is the sky. But at some point, if I can see between two clouds, I know that the sky is fundamental. Silence is fundamental. The thoughts come and go. If I'm not watchful, for half an hour, I'll be thinking about what I could have done yesterday. If I'm not watchful, for half an hour, I'll be planning my future retreat. Planning is not the issue. Thinking is not the issue. Thinking when I don't want to think is the problem. Now my mind is running me. I make myself busy because the mind is running me. I want to use the mind when I want to. When I'm talking, I want to be able to use it. When this talk is over, I want to be able to rest it. That will happen if I'm able to hit silence. So we'll try that. What we'll do for the next 3 minutes is going to just sit and just watch. So one thought will come. Now this could be anything, a very happy memory, a traumatic memory, a fear. You just watch it pass. Then the next will come. The next will come. You don't engage. If you engage, then as soon as you're aware, you come back. Please remember that the art of meditation is not about stopping my mind. It's taken 4.5 billion years for this nervous system to be like this. That I can even ask, who am I? If I stop it, I'll be a zombie. It's not about that at all. It's just that when I don't want to use it, I should be able to keep it away. Currently, I think I'm the river. But if I can just stay on the river bank and watch. So let's try it for 3 minutes. Sit straight. Eyes at the eyebrow center. For the next 3 minutes, starting in 2 seconds, just watch every thought come and go. 3 minutes now. It's amazing. So what we saw in 3 minutes, so many different thoughts. The mind is the ultimate storyteller. Today we are beginning to see that. We see this in the neuroscience lab. I always thought, when I say I, mean all of us, we always thought that when you are happy, you smile. Today we are seeing in the lab that when you smile, the mind interprets that you're happy. It's the other way. The mind makes a story based on the physiology. A lot of people tell me that the day they got married was the happiest day of their life. Because you smile for 500 photos. It's not the marriage. Find anybody or do it by yourself. Just smile for 500 photos tomorrow. You're the happiest day. Jokes apart, that's the truth. The mind is interpreting the physiology all the time. Yeah? The mind comes a nanosecond after the physiological response. Adrenaline pumps in, mind tells me I'm in stress. So much so that when people are put in solitary confinement in a dark space, after 2-3 days, they begin not just hallucinate, they really feel there's a story. Now essentially, in reality, there is no color. This is just an optic frequency that's hitting my eye, that's going to the brain, and I'm perceiving that as black. And you're perceiving this as white. White means that every other frequency has been retained and white is being reflected back. So actually this is everything but white. And that is everything but black. There is no sound in nature. This is just auditory frequencies that are hitting the ear. What I'm saying is a collection of air compression signals that your brain is putting together and we have a conversation. If you didn't understand English, this would just be sounds. So your brain is piecing together a collection of sounds I'm articulating. And that's not me. These sounds is being pieced together. So the story is being pieced together in your brain. There is really no color. But the rods and cones get that visual frequency, and my brain paints this as this color, paints this as sound. Everything is happening here. Suppose I cut out all sensory inputs, as in solitary confinement. After 3 to 4 days, people start to build their own story. People feel that, say, they're flying a kite, but it's not a hallucination. They genuinely feel that that's happening in a way that is visceral, because the mind cannot exist without a story. Now that story is 100% under your watch. It's your story that you're creating. It has nothing to do with the external. Yeah? So when we were watching the thoughts for 3 minutes, you would have seen so much pass by. If you sit for 2 hours, you will have enough content for 3-4 movies. You don't even have to outsource entertainment to Netflix. just sit for 2 hours, the most beautiful mind flicks is going on. Free subscription for life. You'll just sit and, my God, I'm almost a superhero. Once you understand the nature of the mind, you won't try to stop that. You're just watching it. When I watch it, it has no compulsiveness over me. That's the game. It can go on. But the identity is not there. So I'm going to ask you a question and you can test it over a week. You can tell me. My first question to you, we started by saying the root word of sin is unawareness. Can you be aware and jealous? You can experiment and see. When I'm unaware, I become jealous. It happens sometimes to me. Can I be aware and still be jealous of someone? In my opinion, it's no, but you can experiment. Can I be aware and happy? In my opinion, no. Because when you're aware, you're only aware. The mind telling me I'm happy is it reading dopamine and serotonin levels. That's all there is to it. Right? The stupidest thing I ever came across in my life is laughter yoga. But it is so beautiful because the mind, the body, has no way to make out whether the laughter is real or no. If I were to do my mind after a point starts to perceive that I'm happy. This is the way the body-mind is created. If you know this, suppose you're not laughing in a given day, fake it. Don't give me that look. A lot of us pay people to go to a stand-up comedian. Don't you have enough laughter that you have to pay somebody to make you laugh? We do it. Culturally, we don't laugh enough. In the Torah, there's a very beautiful thing that says a spiritual person is a person who laughs. That's why you have the laughing Buddha. This laughter is being interpreted as happiness. So what we are coming to is that you have 100% control is a sick word. You have 100% ability to tell your own story. Yeah? Suppose that person breaks your heart. You have the choice to feel the pain or no. Yeah? Choice is what you train in life, not balance. Is that okay? Choice is what you train. Resilience is what you train. That my back may be paining, I'm not paining. Yeah. And the more we study, we find that in the last 5-6 years, research is showing us that the body doesn't feel pain, cannot feel pain. The pain is only here. The brain perceives an electrical signal that tells me my knee is paining. This cannot feel, doesn't have the apparatus to tell that it's in pain. So my story is happening here. The only way out of suffering, if there was no suffering, there'd be no need for prayer, meditation, yoga, none of this. When I was 18 years, I was having a blast in life. Now that the first suffering began, I started to ask, who am I? I'm speaking for all of us. We started to ask who we are. Now it's a worse kind of pain. Because you can't go back to the mindless, happy enjoying a trip. This is the story of the Garden of Eden, right? Adam and Eve. When Adam eats the apple, Adam's apple, puberty happens. Now they have to live life. They have to fend for themselves. And throughout life, you're trying to go back to that state of innocence. When we are young, we fall in love with beautiful people. Little later, we fall in love with people who have a beautiful mind. But eventually, you fall in love with people who have innocence. There's nothing sexier than innocence. Because some part of that person reminds me of my trueness, where there's no game. Is that okay? Is that okay? Yeah. If the person is beautiful, has a good mind, and is innocent. But essentially, it's a journey back. So that's the meaning of that story. Now, they know who they are, they have to live in the world, but they always want to go back to that Garden of Eden with all the knowledge of life. The person goes back into that space. This is what we train for. We continuously train for that lack of game, that space of innocence. And that will only happen if I am not there. As long as Manish is there, as long as Manish's story is there, silence cannot happen. Manish cannot meditate. But when this character is not there, only meditation is there. We've seen 4 kinds of meditations: using words, using symbols, using body rhythms. We looked at breath, looking at thoughts. You can combine a little bit. You can do a mantra with breath work, so hum. But essentially it falls within. There's a 5th kind we call dynamic meditation. It took me many years to understand why people run. Right? I ran a bit when I played football, but I can't understand why would somebody run. I spoke to many people, and then I understood that they told me after 5-6 kilometers they become silent. You may dance to become silent. 90% of yoga classes are vinyasa. It's the antithesis of stillness. But you got to move because the mind is moving. So you got to move, you can swim, you can do anything to come to stillness. Now, whichever you use, I'm not taking you through a dynamic meditation just now, but you know enough, you can work it out for yourself. If you're a kind of person who needs to move to become still and silent, then that works for you. The only thing is that if you do a little bit of breathing, you don't need 5-6 kilometers to hit silence. The poetry should start from the first step. If you're already silent, then every step you take when you run is beautiful. So like that, word, image, body rhythm, watching thoughts, or dynamic movements. Any of these 5. You can combine a little bit, but one should be your practice. Meditation should be done minimum 7 days a week. If you don't do that, then the neural circuits continuously revert. Essentially, it's not really important what has happened to me or who am I. The real challenge and adventure is who can I become. Who am I today is just a collection of neural circuits. If I want to be somebody else 1 year down the line, only those neural circuits need to change. And my ability to change those neural circuits has to be trained daily. If I don't train it daily, over 48 hours it will never change. Yeah? So this is what I mean. Meditation is for people tired of happiness. It doesn't take very much effort to sort out your life. Yeah? We've gone to college and so on to make a living. That's fine. With minimal effort, we are very lucky we are born in a generation with minimal effort, life can be sorted. Now you have time. You have time to explore who am I. One little pointer before we close out. What is the difference between meditation and mind training? Mind training means I want this. I visualize this. Obviously, I'm going to get it. If I visualize a dream partner or a dream car, whatever, obviously I'm going to get it. That's not. If I'm not getting it, there's something warped in me. But that's not the real purpose. I don't know who I am, but I wish I have a dream partner. Now I have a dream partner and I still don't know who I am. That might be even worse. So meditation is just getting to know who am I. To get to know who am I start with the reliable instrument, the body, the breath. I remove all concepts. I don't take second-hand information. If I don't have the discipline, this nervous system is asking the question. If I don't optimize this nervous system, then it is better to take somebody else's. It is better to listen to what Krishna, Buddha, Christ, Muhammad has to say. It's much better. And you can still take from them. But one thing needs to be done. An experiment needs to be done. To begin an experiment, you need to have a hypothesis. A lot of the times, we feel that science is objective. It's definitely not. Because the scientist starts with a hypothesis. And the hypothesis is a belief. If he proves it, it becomes data. If he disproves it, it becomes data. Similarly, you begin with a hypothesis. It can be anything. A lot of the times we take a lot for granted. So I took a hypothesis, for example, that... Does everybody want to throw a hypothesis? Any hypothesis? Earth is circle. Okay. Okay. Sure. Something more personal. Any hypothesis. I don't have a soul. You can fly. Okay. So you take a hypothesis that I can levitate. Now, I start to experiment and experiment and experiment. Me levitating is not important. But on that journey, I discover the physics of my body. I discover the psychology of my mind. I discover every pattern within of me. The hypothesis is very important and the experiment is very important. I am an experimenter and I am the experiment myself. That's meditation. One or two things before I close out. One, never take advice from anybody who is not going to take responsibility for your journey. And never give advice also. Never take advice from anybody who doesn't take responsibility for your journey. That YouTube video, that beautiful person, Dalai Lama says this. He's not going to take responsibility unless you're living with him. What happens with that is you take the best from everybody. And when things don't work out, you shift. Okay? So never take advice from anyone who's not going to take responsibility if you do it. Second, meditation is too beautiful to outsource. If you need some guided meditation, that's fine. but very quickly get the app out of your phone. In the past, I was addicted to Pink Floyd's music. Now I'm addicted to some guided meditation. I'm still addicted. Silence has not happened to me. If I don't outsource my entertainment to anybody and I can be, then I've begun to understand silence. What you learn is just technique, but not second-hand perspective. And to finish off, any and everybody hits silence sometime in life. Even a murderer is watching a sunset will become silent. The only thing is that you're leaving it to chance. Yoga means, when I say yoga, I don't mean just the Surya Namaskar. I mean the way you live your life. You are not leaving it to chance. I want to be silent every day when I want to be silent. So, I'll manage my sleep, I'll manage my food, I'll manage my relationships, I'll manage my work, I'll manage everything so efficiently that when I want to be silent, I can be silent. It is not going to happen if you're mismanaging life. If I think that I can make a mess of my life and once a week go in for a meditation or once a year go in for a meditation course, I'm so sorry. It's never going to happen. The only Zen you find on mountain tops is the Zen you take there. It's not going to happen. When I sort out my life, nobody will need to teach me meditation. I've shared techniques with you. Please choose a technique that works for you and keep working on it, keep working on it, keep working on it. As Malcolm Gladwell would say, 10,000 hours brings mastery. It's not important whether it's 10 or 8 or 12, but a consistent amount of time. Bring some mastery. Thank you, my dear friends. What we'll do is, let's just sit in silence. Don't tell me your story because I'm in love with your silence. My dear friends, that brings us to the main existential question. Did it happen if there was no photo? Thank you, friends. Thank you so much. And I invite you so that we take a picture together. If you figure a way that works better, please share with me because I'm very curious to learn. Thank you.